This is Rise of the Ronin. We're here on PlayStation 5. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is kind of, I guess you would say, a build-up from the technology and whatnot of Nioh, as you enjoy this open-world, samurai-like adventure, where you are on the path to, I guess, reclaim somewhat important to you, a twin blade of sorts, and you go on this epic adventure across this majestic landscape. So I honestly have not had enough time to really play this, considering it's been insanely busy, but I thought I would dive in and talk a bit about the game, the performance, and the scope of the experience. So actually, this is the ray tracing mode. So the game has 3 different graphical options and a bunch of game settings, including difficulty, as this game can be a little... it can be difficult. So we got visual options, ray tracing, prioritize graphics, and prioritize FPS. There's also a frame rate limit option, motion blur settings, vignetting, everything like that. So you can cap the frame rate or uncap the frame rate. If you've got a VRR enabled display, it's going to help you a little bit better. So for the particular ray tracing effects, it just seems like some reflections in some particular scenarios. Cool. So we're going to switch to the main menu because that's the only way to show you the different performance modes, and there's a photo mode as well, and kind of give you just an idea of the options here so that you guys can see the various visual settings that are present within the game. And again, you literally have to switch this from the main menu, which can be a little annoying. Anyways, let's prioritize the graphics and get into the action. So we are obviously getting like a 4K resolution. It's going to be dynamically resolution scaling quite a bit. I mean, you know, quite a difference there. So yeah, here we are. We're in the performance graphics mode. I know that sounds annoying, but yeah, frame rate cap, frame rate off, and it kind of depends on how you want to go about it for the quality of your experience. Like, I do think the game, I like the look of it. Some of it feels a little gen-aged in regards to, like, stuff in the backdrop, but you get kind of a large world, one that's filled to the brim with detail. But if you do actually want, like, a good level of fluidity, obviously the performance mode is kind of the way to go. Prioritize FPS, and then they turn off the frame rate limit, and you'll just immediately notice like the performance quality just bumps right up. Honestly, it's not the craziest of differences in regards to like visual quality between the modes. Like there is a bit of a difference, but I do think you're getting a lot more from actually having that performance level, especially during combat, which can be pretty grueling. Like, the game is a very brutal, very much Team Ninja type of experience, I've noticed. And obviously I quite like that sort of style. But I think the game does look kind of nice. There was a sequence, a little bit of an opening sequence before this, where you are essentially going through this snow area, and it's kind of at night, and there's like this really peaceful sort of element to it that looks very aesthetically pleasing, and I think it's got like a nice style to it, and you know, you got this like really great sense of detail and depth within the flora and the plants and the trees, and there's lots going on in this world. So there's some elements where it might come across a little visually aged, but at the same time, I do actually think this game is pretty nice looking, and it's gory and it's violent, and yeah, it's very interesting. So you kind of start out by making these 2 characters, and then you go on this adventure, and yeah, it's kind of a neat game, and it kind of sets up the story and the setup where you are having to make an impact on this area. You're out looking for someone, like I've mentioned, and you are attempting to deal with all of these conflicting forces that are present across the land. It's a time of great unrest and upheaval as, you know, you're kind of this rising faction of discontent and unsatisfaction in what's going on. And it is actually like quite hard, like the game, like in the sense of like it's more timing, but like when you die, that's where the real difficulty to me comes in, is like you might, depending on what posts you've kind of unlocked, you might have to redo like very lengthy segments, which can be a little annoying depending on your interests and stuff like that. And that's where it kind of gets into a little bit of a Dark Souls-y type thing. Maybe also, I'm trying to think of the particular game that we just kind of did, like a Wukong or something, like whatever that one was not too long ago. Kind of feeling along those lines. So it's a 19th century Japan that is kind of a combat-focused open world role-playing game. There's war going on here. It's literally Japan 1863. And during this reign and everything like that, there's huge unrest and just kind of civil issues and stuff along the way, and you've found yourself thrown into the middle of the situation, and you're trying to, you know, get things done. You do actually make story choices too in this game. It may not seem like it from that particular chat, but there is actually like narrative choices within this game that will impact what happens with your story. The character customization is really good too. Like you actually get to make a pretty neat looking character. And I don't know, it's just there's a certain style and aesthetic to it that feels really good, especially with the duel sense. I quite liked what they had going on here. It's just like this crazy sort of samurai adventure. And you're a masterless samurai, that's what a Ronin is. And your destiny is kind of your own, which is kind of cool. Like they leave it really sort of open to your setup and a little bit of your choices. You know, assassinating, dealing with key political figures. And I think you will, if you're coming from like Ninja Gaiden or Nioh, you'll probably feel pretty at home with this one. But just the approach to it, I think, is vastly different because it is largely open. Now, performance-wise, again, you're very likely going to have some performance issues when you're playing this game, kind of no matter how you go about it. But like, performance mode, at least from little bits I've actually played, which is not honestly much, it's not bad. It's pretty good, especially if you have a VR enabled screen and all that. The combat, it's very stamina focused, so you got to make your moves, you got to do your setup. Yes, I want your coin. Thank you. Wandering kind of stuff. Like this is literally just the starting area, just like literally starting out after you do the prologue setup with the narrative and everything like that. Bond screens. Yes, keep an eye out on your bonds of the era. So you get a lot of equipment too, and the choice between equipment. Like literally when the game starts out, you're in this training area, and you get to kind of pick the weapons and the setups, the style that you want, and you can kind of play around with them and see if that's something that like resonates with you and your style of combat. I think that's a very effective way to do things. It really genuinely is. For me, it's this like getting used to the blocking is, I guess you would say my greatest weakness is just kind of being able to time blocks, because once you do, you can do these like devastatingly gruesome hits. It's really quite neat, like honestly, it looks super cool. And this game does have a neat system of multi-user control and stuff, and it all makes sense when you kind of play it. And I think if you're looking for a really interesting samurai game, this one has a lot of potential to kind of offer something engaging and very expansive. And as I said, like my biggest kind of like disappointment here is just literally not having enough time to really fully soak this one in. I guess I'm gathering medicinal crops, which I sort of totally lost focus on doing as I was going off and doing some kind of adventure, but like it feels pretty large in scale. There's pop-in and the backdrop again, a little gen-aged, but I sort of like the style it's going for, like art style, like aesthetically and stuff. I kind of really vibing with it. But you get literally a true sense of freedom as you explore, and yeah, there's so much like adjustments you can make to the weapons and the tools and stuff in this. Like it does really seem quite expansive. Do the prioritized graphics so you can see that more in action. Like you can see the performance kind of going on in this one. It's almost like it's prepared for a future PlayStation console down the road almost. in terms of like fully getting its potential out of it, which is kind of weird because honestly, there's a lot of detail here, right? Like there's a lot going on, but it still doesn't really visually strike you as something that should be, I guess you would say, struggling to this degree. Like, I don't know. I'm fairly used to the style of Team Ninja games. I think a lot of people are too. And, yeah, I think you'll be right at home with it, but I think some might expect a little bit more, especially since we've seen such gorgeous, similar type samurai type games, right? And, I don't know, I think that's really going to be up to the debate of the individual and what they want from this kind of game. You see, like, it's in the distance, stuff isn't rendered. I don't know. Like, it looks nice, but you're obviously seeing performance issues and stuff, and such a mixed bag for that kind of thing. But I think it's really cool. I am so sorry, ma'am. I am so sorry. Here, you use your medicinal stuff. I am... Yeah. You're welcome. See, now we're getting some improvements, some leveling stats. That's what I'm talking about. And then, of course, like, some clothing and whatnot. Because it is a role-playing game, so like a lot of other ones, you're going to... Wait, you can collect the bunnies? Where's the bunny? I want to collect it. Where did you go? Where did you go? Hop it away. It's gone. So you are getting, like, better gear, better tools, better weapons. They'll have, like, stat levels to them, and it's just kind of this, like, vibrant, expansive world that you're sort of finding yourself adventuring with it and exploring, which is kind of cool. You have, like, a cool grappling hook that allows for traversal. You've got, yeah, all this stuff popping up on your screen while I'm trying to show things off. Yeah, there is a lot going on here. And then we'll turn on the prioritize FPS. It's just smoother. Like, it's just a lot better for performance and whatnot. It's Yakoma. There's just so many things to see. But, like, it's a lively place. You've got characters moving about, doing things. There's a full timeline and setup. It's something that is, to some degree, I guess, trying to be historical, but it also creates a little bit of its own fantasy-type path to it. Game meat. Well, at least the rabbit still gets to live, I guess. That's good. But I do ponder about, like, the combat and whatnot, and how intensive that will be for folks. Because, like, these generic characters are kind of easygoing, but you get to some boss fights, and it's like... There's some crazy stuff going on in this one. I'm gonna die. And then you literally will go back to your stand, and I think I forgot to capture that one flag position. Yeah, at least it loads really, really quickly, which is nice, but as you can tell, it's a little grueling here. And then you get like a vendetta system, which I guess would be a little bit in line with something, say, the Shadow of War, you know, kind of like a Nemesis type system is kind of being involved in this one. Yeah, so it's really, really quite neat. I think so. I'm trying to showcase it off and give you a good look at it is my main goal here, honestly. Give you an idea of the modes, the performance level, talk a little bit about it, and maybe get you a little appreciation for what this one has to offer. Can't believe I, like, died so easily, honestly. It's just, like, brutal for combat, like... Seeing these characters just get, like, cut up like that is so insane. I got my karma back. That's good. But I do ponder if the difficulty type thing is gonna kind of throw some players off, because it can be really, really grueling. At least you can adjust the settings, I guess. Like, I don't think anyone else should be too held back, but I can definitely see where some players will struggle more than others in interesting ways. Okay, well, you're kind of hoping you fall to your death. Are you using a flame arrow? Come on. Nobody expects ninja stars. Hope you didn't need that. This really is like just filled kind of world of activity and stuff. Just walking down the path and running to a rogue group of individuals that's there trying to slash you down and end your days. It's really quite majestic, honestly. Kind of open world game would it be without your horse, right? I kind of like the vibe this one's got going on, honestly, like aesthetically and stuff. It looks pretty good. These enemies we're dealing with. And what's really interesting about this era of Japan too is where you're getting, I guess you would say, Western influences kind of being involved within the world. Like it's got that humbled, old school sort of countryside, open historical Japan, and it's mixed with more of a, well, traditional Japan versus this fast modernizing style, which is kind of cool. Oh, looks like some people up on the post. That's lovely. Hello, I'm here to go into the bridge.
Where's a permit?
Oh, I doth not have a permit.
No one can. I don't.
Well, how do I get in? I definitely get some, like, Assassin's Creed, Ghost of Tsushima, kind of vibes like that. It's kind of like a mix of influences, which I think is kind of fascinating. Also a little bit of a peaceful adventure as you're dancing along the countryside, exploring things. Nobody ever expects an attack from a person while they're on horseback. Although I should probably get off my horse, because this is just getting ridiculous. I just get back up. No, I'm gonna get off my horse. I did. Nice. Ronin socks, that's what I'm talking about. I'm also trying to not waste time, like, showing you, different, like, outfits. Like, I could put better gear on and I'd be doing even better against these guys. I think once you really get into the flow of it, though, you can probably be very just smoothly working through this and taking people out. Can I, like, get this guy? Ah, there we go. Shouldn't I have cut this guy down when he fell off the roof and was like an easy target? Thanks, auto aim. It's so gory too. It really, you know, it's kind of fascinating if you go back to the earlier Team Ninja kind of games. You go back to Ninja Gaiden, Nioh and stuff, and just see how their, like, style has kind of evolved. It's really quite interesting. Because they always make sort of similar vibing games, and it's just, they almost keep up with just the technology and the era and everything like that. Oh no. There we go. Enjoy the afterlife. The enemy is in control of this area. Well, where are these other enemies? You really can smoothly and swiftly get through this environment, too. I love that element of it. And I should probably use a little bit more stealth. This makes it a little easier to kill people when you just kind of execute them. Where's this other character at? Oh, it's the doggo. Nice. Yeah, I'm actually really loving this one. It's kind of cool. Nice vibes, cool setup, neat design. And I hope I kind of showcased it okay and whatnot, as I do hope to dive into this one a little deeper and Yeah, time constraints can be killer. What can I say in this business, eh?